everyone. I'm your host, Sean Laurie. Welcome to A Dreamer's Experience, where we let the next generation's voice be heard and help build a stable identity in an unstable world. This is episode 6. I'm here with the lovely Natalie. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very good, very good. What I like to do a lot of times is to have an icebreaker.
Okay.
So I want to just ask you, what is, if you're okay sharing, what is one of the most maybe funniest or embarrassing times in your life when you were younger? What's one moment that really stuck out? Like, did you trip or in a play? I don't know. Like,
one time I was at a car show with my dad.
Okay.
And his friend told me like, "Oh, go get me a soda." Like just like that. And I was like, and for me to be like little and be like, "What the hell?" Like, I was like, "Are you being serious? Like, you really talk to me?" And then like for my dad to be like, "Yeah, just go get him one." Like, and it's one thing, I'm a nice person, and I would still do it, but just the way, like, he came at me, and, like, I know I'm a kid, but I still have feelings, I'm still that, like, you know, so I was like, so then I was like, oh, okay, I'll go get him a soda, and then my mom caught me shaking up his soda, and she's like, go put that back right now, because she thought it was for my dad, and then I told her later, and then she was like, oh, I'm sorry, like, I didn't know he did that, so I would let you give him the soda, I'm on me, too, but yeah, like, I don't know, that really did stick with me, because you just felt, like, really, like, drawn back. Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well then.
I don't know. I actually like that because to me too, the fact that, because you know, you could have been intimidated or something like that, but you're like, no, you know what? I don't like the way he's talking to me. I'm going to get this soda, shake it up. I don't care, whatever,
right?
That
got me in trouble a lot when I was smaller.
But what I like is like, it sounds like at a young age you was confident, right? So I want to ask you, like, for those that aren't as confident, especially if they're high school or even not in high school, what do you think causes for people to have those insecurities?
Literally the people around you, like it could be your family, like a lot of like Mexican families, like you notice like them calling people like gorda, like you know, big or fat, and they're not, like, you know, but just to hear that every day, like I bet you they start to like, oh, like, you know, so I think it's just really like, and not reminding yourself you're like worth, like, no, like just really getting to know yourself and being comfortable with you, you know?
I like that. So it has, well, for you then, has there ever been a time where you felt insecure about any type of situation?
I wasn't always confident. Like growing up I wasn't, because I had ADHD. And so
me too.
Yeah, you too. Yeah.
I just haven't been diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure.
So, you know, you'd get put in different classes, and so you'd have to go there, and, like, obviously the kids are like, okay, why are you going to a different class? And you're like, no reason, I have a learning disability, and you're, like, embarrassed. And then getting older, like, I was like, why was I embarrassed? Like, it's just, everybody's different. Like, that's okay. Like, and I wish I had someone to be like, it's okay. Like, really sit down with me and explain, like, well, there was this one lady in my Girl Scout troop. She told me, because, like it was a rough day at school, and then she was like, you know what, sweetheart, she goes, you would tell those kids that, you know what, I'm actually a lot smarter than you because I'm retaining the information so fast. And then it made me like, that gave me confidence, like with that. She helped me a lot, so I was like, oh. So I tell a lot of kids that like tell me like, oh, I have ADHD, or I tell them that too, and they like, you could see that they like connect, like, oh, like they feel a lot better.
That's good. So you're basically able to share your story with someone and help them out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you said, like, obviously at one point you wasn't always like that, so what was like your, I guess, go-to move when you felt like insecure? So like, for example, for me, right, when I'm feeling like insecure or something like that, like a lot of times what I do, I'll either kind of shut down or I'll kind of separate myself from other people. Even at times I might listen to music, right, like for me. But yeah, what is something, or even now, if there is, even though now obviously you've grown out of it, but when there's times where you're not sure about things, what did you used to do when you felt like you was in that space?
To break out. Well, like I still do sometimes, like you said, like to go for an interview, like my costume interview, I was like, oh my gosh, because I just had been on leave for my baby. So, and then my last interview, I didn't even have one for Subway because she knew me. So she's like, yeah, go ahead. So then I was like, oh my gosh. And then I just had to like sit back and like, okay, you've gotten all these jobs before, like, and every time you leave that interview, they're always like, you were amazing. So what are you just have to remind yourself, like, you bring it to the table and there's nothing you can, that's out of your control. You just bring it and let them decide from there,
I
You
like
let your
that.
personality speak.
Yeah, I like that. So you touched on something as far as with the like you said, like the Hispanic culture, things they would say, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So do you think then at times we can, as parents or peers, we can cause more insecurities without realizing it?
Yes. Like, growing up, my dad was very playful.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we would just be like, oh, you smell, or like, oh, you're ugly, like, just playing, like, you know, or hey, ugly.
Mm-hmm.
So I do that with my little sister, and like, now after having my daughter, I was like, okay, you know what? Or like, you know, becoming self-aware about myself, like, I'm not ugly, you're beautiful, like, comfortable in your own skin. And so I was like, you know what? I was telling myself I wanted that when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to do that I need to start doing that for my sister. I can do that for her as well, you know?
Yeah.
So I make sure I stop like using any negative words or, you know, so I'll make sure it's beautiful, not ugly. You just have to, it's becoming aware and then changing it. It's literally that. And it's so simple, you know?
I like that. Because what I've noticed too, right, were like people I know when they were younger, like their parents actually created insecurities for them without them realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like, for example, like, I don't want you to go outside. I don't want you to do certain things. Like literally, I'm gonna take care of everything for you.
Okay.
But then when they got in the real world, it really like kind of messed them up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like they were kind of freaked out, like I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right. So like, have you ever met anyone like that? And if you have, or even if you haven't, like, how do you think they can get out of feeling? Because it's fear, like it's just fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're basically just scared. Like, how would you tell them like how to get out of that space?
Me, like, because I catch myself like, oh, I'm talking to a supervisor, act different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I think that's where we trip ourselves up, is we're trying to be something that we're not, fill a title that we're not, or, you know, like put a face that we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And then it makes us trip up like, oh my gosh, no, it's just be yourself. We're all human. Like, I don't know why we overthink it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Do you think a reason for that too is with social media?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The way, like, you know, or how younger girls are like, oh my god, I gotta look like this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to cut my hair like this because Charli D'Amelio is this, you know? So that's a big thing.
Because it, like, to me, it trips me out, right? Like, we literally have whatever 10, 12-year-olds, high schoolers, whatever, but they're literally comparing themselves to grown women, like a Cardi B, a Kardashian, whatever, right?
Yes.
Like, it's so crazy, but they literally are like, what can I do to be like them?
Yeah.
And then they start nitpicking themselves.
Yes.
So, like, for you as a young woman, like, for you, like, was there a time with you, maybe social media or high school or whatever, where you start kind of picking yourself or comparing yourself to other people when you really shouldn't have?
Not really, because I wasn't the typical girl. Like, I was very tomboy when I was smaller, so I feel like more that would happen when you were younger. I mean, I guess high school too, you know, but I think I didn't have it then, so I didn't really like trip on it when I was older. Like, I was like, oh, I don't really care, you know? Because literally I was just myself all the time, and I just had to remind myself, like, if people didn't really want to be around me or really didn't like me because of how I looked or this, then they wouldn't hang out with me, or, you know, like, and at the end of the day, like, how you look doesn't make you happy, you know? Like, it's literally you vibing with people, being a good person, like, you know, just connecting off with good people, and that makes you feel good, or that's what makes me feel good, you know? Just being a genuine person and making other people feel good makes me feel good. Like, and it genuinely does. So, like, I don't get people, like, nowadays where I'm like, how are you not a good person? Like, it's not her.
Yeah.
You know? It's so simple, and it's the little things that everyone misses.
So have you, well, like, for example, when you was in high school, or even maybe now, your friends, were they ever comparing themselves, or have you ever met people that were ever trying to compare themselves to whoever, to their peers or to social media or whatever? And like, if so, what, like, basically for you, like, because you have such a great mindset towards it, like, were you able to kind of help them get out of it, or how was it?
Sometimes, like, I try to help, like, my boyfriend, like, when he's down on himself, or, you know, when he tries to give up too early, like, it's literally just, you're there for yourself at the end of the day, and that's how you have to be. I mean, still help others, you know, always strive to help others, but it's easier to help others when you're whole yourself, you know? Or, like, with your friends, like you said, it's easier to, the more you watch people, the more they tell themselves. You know what I mean? Like, biggest things with friends, because they disguise, you know, enemies disguise as friends sometimes, you know?
True.
So you can tell when a friend's like, oh, your hair is this, or oh, your shirt's this, or nitpick at you about anything. You know, I had a friend like that, and you're just like, and your best friend, and you're just like, why are you being like that with me? You know, like when other people are around, then they act different. It's like, those are not the people I have, you know, because that's just not cool.
True. And it's funny too, like, right, like you said, you had a friend like that, and that friend literally was just, they were literally hurting inside, but they wanted to make sure you hurt as well.
Or like you said, maybe it was their insecurities, so then, and you just don't know. You're like, what? You just are like, why are they being like that?
Yeah.
And your parents will tell you like, oh, they're, you know, insecure, they want to be like you, and you're like, what? No, I don't think that's it.
Yeah.
And then you get older and you realize, and you're like, okay, maybe that was it. Because then you just realize, like, sometimes, like, oh, maybe did I do that right now, or?
Well, that's the funny part too, like, right? So we have these images of celebrities, like, we think like they're perfect.
Yeah.
Like, we think like there's, you know, for example, like Beyonce. What Beyonce has something to be insecure about, right? But these are real people. They also have, you know, the funny part is, right, they're also comparing themselves, I'm sure, to artists or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe their bank accounts, right? That's a big thing too with insecurity.
Kylie Jenner, please do not be comparing your bank account to me, girl, because.
You know, no, that's true.
Oh, but you do with other celebrities too, huh?
Yeah, no, but that's true though. Like, you know, like insecurities. People a lot of times I think it's strictly like, oh, you know, I'm not cute enough, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm skinny, whatever. Yeah. But also insecurities can be caused financially.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, if you grew up, whatever, where you didn't have that much money or something like that, you know, and you see other people around with money, you feel some type of way. You might feel like you're not worthy. You know what I mean? Just these little fake things that's not true.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you're comparing. Because I can speak for myself. There was times in my life where financially I was really low. Yeah. And I felt terrible. Like, I was like, dang, like, well, especially as a guy, right? I'm like, what type of guy can't provide? Okay. You know what I mean? So I say that as far as like, what is something that, I guess, what is one thing you could tell someone that is struggling in any aspect as far as insecurity goes?
That anybody's gonna talk no matter what. You know what I mean? People will talk. If you have people talk about Kylie Jenner. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna have something to talk about you. So why not do what you want to do? You know, make you happy at the end of the day. Ask yourself, is this gonna make me happy? Am I gonna like myself at the end of the day after doing this? Like, people ask too much, like, oh my god, is she gonna care? Is she gonna care? Or, you know, they don't, like, growing up, my mom and dad were young parents, so they did not let me go nowhere. They were like, nope, because they didn't want no one to talk, like, oh, they let their daughter walk, But then that sucks, because why am I being punished? Like, I didn't make, not mistakes, but, you know, I didn't do what you guys did. I didn't, you know, and I was still being punished for it. Well, you know, so.
You actually made me think of something right now, too. Not saying your parents necessarily, but just parents overall. A lot of times we parent based off of our insecurities.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So I'm worried about what my neighbor might think. I'm worried about what my friend might think, my mom, my cousin, whatever. Instead of like, no, let me build that relationship with my child.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And see what they want.
Yes.
And because of that, now they feel valued. Yes. You know what I mean? And so now you're actually strengthening you're strengthening them as well. Yes. So they're going in there, I know I have a voice.
Yes, that's where the confidence comes from, is like us, like we build, or like you said, like we try to, like, I notice some parents will want them to be like, oh, you're gonna be a doctor because that's what they wanted to do, or, you know, and then it doesn't make them happy at the end of the day, or they're stressing their kid out and straining their relationship, and it's like, we're here to guide them and be there for them, and that's it. You know, like literally it's scary because we don't have no control, but that's the best part, is like we want them to be a doctor and a lawyer, and then they turn around and be like, nope, I'm doing this, and then you're like, oh my god, that's so cool. You know, because it's the unknown. It's so cool.
No, and that's great that, like, what you said is perfect, and unfortunately obviously not everyone's parents are like that, right? But because of that, that's what I said too, like we can parent insecure, we can use insecurity to parent our children and not realize it, because I even know a couple of people were literally, they didn't follow what their parents wanted them to do, and so because of that they feel like a failure. Okay. Right? They have insecurity about, and they're doing well, like they're doing very like well in life, but because their parents had this and this and this mapped out for them, right? Yeah. So where it's like, I'm taking away you're free of thinking. I don't
Yeah.
want you to think for yourself.
Yeah.
On top of that, you need to be this so I can tell other people that you're doing this.
Yes.
Right.
To make them look at their
Exactly.
their awards
Like
up there.
look what I did. This is my child. My
Yes.
child's a doctor. This is amazing.
Yes, and it's like, okay, then you just took from your child their
Mhm.
experience and their joy, like everything that they could, or how do you know that they weren't going to be a singer or a rapper,
Exactly.
you know, and you just made them be a doctor and they're hating their lives.
And
you
then
get one life. Like,
exactly.
you know, like,
And then you're wondering though, why does, right? Because that can create resentment.
oh yeah.
So now you're wondering, why is my child upset with me?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
And you just
I
wanted
know.
the best for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like, parenting's hard. I'm a parent. I know it's not easy at all.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you have to make sure that you're not letting your insecurities, your doubt creep in to their way of thinking.
Yes.
Because when you're young, you don't know any better.
Yeah.
You think you can fly, right?
Yes. No, for real.
Like, that's just what it is, and
Yeah.
you literally remove that from them.
Exactly.
So that's crazy. But man, no, I definitely love this conversation.
Right.
So much. If you don't mind, I can have you for the next episode. as
Yeah,
well.
of course.
So yes, I'm gonna bring her back for episode 7, guys. Do you have anything you want to plug in and social media stuff?
Sure. You can follow my Twitter. It's Natalie with I think 2 I's and 3 E's and an underscore.
Are you sure that's it?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. All right, that's awesome. And please subscribe. YouTube with Dreamers Ambition, on podcast, whatever. Please just subscribe, right? And before we leave, honestly, I gotta make sure I tell you these 3 things. Make sure you instill hope. Make sure you dream big, and make sure you have faith. See y'all next time.
But I'm God's child, so I'm like, I'm tryna feel